Most redox reactions are going to take place either in acidic or basic solution because in both of those cases, an acidic solution is going to have an excess of hydrogen ions and a basic solution is going to have an excess of hydroxide ions. And so there is some additional charge floating around there that's going to be able to help get these charges balanced. So again, if you don't already have your sheet for balancing redox reactions, half reactions, you need to go get that so that you can have that and refer to that as we're going through balancing these. Again, we won't get all the way through these steps today because we're going to balance in acid solution today. In fact, I probably should have put up there. All of these are in acidic solution, okay, because that makes a difference in how we balance it. So I have two equations up here, and then I'll do one more after that, and I'll let you try that as we're doing it together to make sure you get the hang of this, okay? So we're going to start with this one. We've got hydrogen peroxide plus silver will yield water and a silver ion. So again, you can see from the beginning here that I don't have equal charges on both sides. The only side I really have a charge on here, I've got a positive one on this side over here is going to be, it doesn't have any charge, that's 0. So I want to make sure that I'm using this redox method so that when I get finished, my charges are balanced, okay? So we're going to start out by writing the two half reactions. So I'm going to have Ag going to Ag plus, and then my other half reaction is going to be H2O2, and it's going to go to H2O, okay? Now, if I start going through these steps, the first step says that I'm going to balance all elements except for oxygen and hydrogen. Okay, so that's the elements there are already balanced. And so then I'm going to do just what I did yesterday. I have to make those charges balanced now. So I'm going to add an electron to this side so that my charges are balanced. Okay, now this one is a little bit different. Here you can see that I've got 2 oxygens on this side, but I only have 1 on this side. So to make that balance, I'm going to put a 2 in front of there. The second step says, or I'm sorry, the third step then says we're going to balance oxygen atoms by adding water molecules. Well, I did have to add another water molecule there. So my oxygen atoms are balanced now. Third step is to balance hydrogen atoms by adding hydrogen ions. Well, I have 4 hydrogens on this side and 2 on this side. So I can just add 2 hydrogen ions on this side in order to get my hydrogens balanced. So now my hydrogens and my oxygens are balanced, and you're going, wait a second, how can I just suddenly add something else in there? Well, remember, this is taking place in acidic solution, so therefore I've got all sorts of hydrogen ions floating around all over the place. So I'll just pull a couple of them into my reaction. Okay, now that I have all the atoms balanced, now I need to balance charge. So I have hydrogen ions here, and so I have 2 of them. So to balance the charge, I'm also going to have to then go in and add 2 electrons to that side, okay? So now I have my atoms balanced and I have my charges balanced on the bottom. I've got 1 electron here and 2 electrons down here. So that means I'm going to take this entire thing and I'm going to multiply this by 2, okay? So then I'm going to have 2Ag yields 2Ag plus 2 electrons. And I haven't done anything to this one. Okay, so that stays the way it is. And now when I add them together, the 2 electrons on each side are going to cancel out. So my final equation is going to be 2Ag plus 2H plus H2O2 yields 2Ag plus 2 H2O, okay? Now that I have the final equation, I need to go through and check it and make sure everything ended up balanced at the end. So I have 2 silvers here and 2 silvers here. I have 2 hydrogens and 2 hydrogens, which makes 4 hydrogens. And I have 4 over here. And then I have 2 oxygens here, and I have 2 oxygens here. So my atoms are all balanced. Then if I check charge, I've got 2 hydrogen ions here, or I've got 2 positives here, and I've got 2 positives there. So I'm also balanced according to charge. Okay? So overall, we're starting with the half reactions like we did before, but I'm now going to be adding waters and hydrogen ions in order to get everything else balanced. Okay, let's try another one. MnO4 minus plus Cl minus yields Mn2 plus Cl2. Okay, and you can see right from the beginning here, I've got oxygens on this side and I don't have anything on this side, so I'm going to have to do something to make that balance. So again, go step by step through the sheet that I gave you so that you can see what you're supposed to be doing until you get the hang of it. So number 1, write the 2 individual half reactions, the oxidation and reduction. So I'm going to take the MnO4 minus, and it's going to go to Mn2 plus. Yeah, there's no oxygen. We'll fix that because remember we fixed it before by adding some water. Okay, so now I've got a Cl minus going to Cl2. Okay. The next step is to balance all elements except the hydrogen and the oxygen. And so I'm actually going to do this second half reaction first because it's a little bit easier. So I have 2 chlorines on this side. I need 2 chlorines on that side. Then I'm going to balance the charge by adding electrons. So I've got a -2 on this side, and I'm going to need to add 2 electrons on this side. Okay. Now we'll look up here. MnO4 minus going to Mn2 plus. Well, I have the same number of manganese on each side, but on this side I've got 4 oxygens. So to balance the oxygen, I need to add water. So I'm going to add, in order to balance that, I'm going to have to add 4 waters over here to this side. Okay, so now my oxygens are balanced, but now I've brought in hydrogen, so I'm going to have to add 8 hydrogen ions to the other side. Okay, so I'm adding 8 H pluses. Okay, so now all of my atoms are balanced. Now I need to balance charge. So on this side, I have a +2. On this side, this is a +8 and a -1, which makes a +7. So to get from a +7 to a +2, I'm going to have to add 5 electrons. Okay? Now, I'm going to have to take this whole equation and I'm going to have to multiply it by 2 because I added 5 electrons. Here I added 2 electrons, so I'm going to have to multiply that one by 5. So I have a total of 10 electrons going on in this exchange here. So now I'm going to take these 2 equations and multiply them through. So I'm going to have 10 electrons plus 16 hydrogen ions plus 2 permanganate ions is going to yield 2 manganese ions plus 8 waters. Okay? Then I'm going to go and I'm going to multiply this equation through by 5. So that's going to give me 10 chloride ions yields 5 chlorines plus 10 electrons. It will be easier as you're adding these 2 together if you try, I didn't do a super job here, but try to keep your arrows pretty well lined up because then it's a little easier to see what's on the left and what's on the right. So now I'm to the point where I need to add both of these together. So I've got 10 electrons here and 10 electrons here on each side that are going to cancel out. And so then when I add this together, I'm going to have 16 hydrogen ions plus 2 permanganate ions plus 10 chloride ions yields 2 manganese ions plus 8 waters plus 5 chlorines. Okay, now we need to go through and check it. I've got 16 hydrogens here and I have 16 here. I have 2 manganese here and 2 over here. I've got 8 oxygens here and I have 8 over here. And I've got 10 chlorines here and I have 10 chlorines here. So I'm balanced according to atoms. Now when I check the charge, here I have a +16 and a -2, which makes a +14. and 10 negative ones, I was at positive 14, and when I add a negative 10, that's going to give me a positive 4 on this side. Then if I look at this side, I've got 2 times a positive 2, and I have a positive 4 on that side also, okay? So I'm balanced according to charge as well. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put one more problem on the board, and I want you to have a piece of paper, and I want you to try it and to see if you can balance it, and then we'll go through it together in case you have trouble. Now, one thing that is true about balancing redox equations is if you get down to the bottom and you discover that something's not balanced, you might go back and recheck your work, but sometimes it's just easier to start over. So I just want to give you that little tip there too. Okay, so the last one that we're going to do here together today is a dichromate ion, which is Cr2O7 with a negative 2 charge on it, and that's going to react with an iron ion that has a positive 2 charge, and that's going to give me a chromium ion with a positive 3 and an iron ion with a positive 3. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is hit the pause button on the video and see what you can do as far as balancing it yourself, okay? Because the best way to learn to do this is just to practice. As you do it, take this sheet, go through it step by step. Now you're only going to get down to about step 7 because we're not in basic solution. The rest of that is for basic solution. So go through this, see what you can do, and then come back and we'll do it together. So hit pause right now. Okay, so now that you've tried it, now we'll go through it together. Now what I recommend is if you didn't get it balanced, then watch me until you get to the point where you find your mistake. And then once you found your mistake, hit pause again and then see if you can go back and fix it the rest of the way. All right, so we'll balance this one. So again, we start by writing the 2 half reactions. I'm going to have an Fe2 plus going to an Fe3 plus. And then I'm going to have a dichromate going to a chromium ion, okay? First half reaction, easy peasy. I'm just going from a positive 2 to a positive 3. Atoms are already balanced, so I just need to balance charge. So I need to add 1 electron to this side, okay? Now let's look down here. I've got 2 chromiums. We're going to always balance atoms first. We've got 2 chromiums here, and I can balance it by putting a 2 in front of the chromium there. Didn't allow myself enough room, did I? Okay. So now I need to balance oxygens. Oxygens are always next. And so I'm going to have to add 7 waters to this side in order to get the oxygens balanced. We're in acidic solution, so in order to balance the hydrogens, I can add hydrogen ions. So I have to add 14 hydrogen ions to this side. All right. Now that all my atoms are balanced, now that I have to balance charge. So I've got a positive 14 and a negative 2, which is going to give me a positive 12 on this side. And on this side, I have a positive 6. So to make this balance, I'm going to have to add 6 electrons to that side in order to get my charge balanced. Okay? So what am I going to do then? All right, well, in order to make this balance, I'm going to have to take this and I'm going to have to multiply it through by 6. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and write this second line of equations. What you may find, and actually when I balance them myself, I don't always rewrite these 2. I'll just go ahead and multiply it through in my head and write the sum of them together. But because you're just learning how to do it, I'm going to go ahead and write this next line so that it's a little easier for you to see. So I'm going to have 6 here. And remember, if you made a mistake and you've now found your mistake, stop the video and see if you can go back and fix the rest of it. The second equation, we had left just the way it was. We didn't need to multiply through. Okay, and then once I have that, now I can add them together. I have 6 electrons on the left and 6 electrons on the right, and they're going to cancel out. So then when I add them together, I'm going to have 6 irons plus 14 hydrogens plus a dichromate ion, yielding 6 iron with a +3 plus 2 chromiums at a +3 plus 7 waters. Okay. We're going to check to see if we're balanced according to atoms. 6 irons and 6 irons. I have 14 hydrogens and 14 hydrogens. We've got 2 chromium and 2 chromium. We've got 7 oxygen and 7 oxygen. So I'm balanced as far as atoms. Now I need to check charge. So here I've got, here I have a +12, and here I have a +14, and here I have a -2. So what that's going to give me on this side is a +24. And then when I look at this side, I have 6 times 3 is 18, and 2 times 3 is 6, and 18 plus 6 is also 24. So I'm balanced according to charge as well. Okay. So the biggest thing that I find students struggle with is adding the waters and the hydrogen ions in here. If you keep in mind that you always want to balance the oxygen first and then balance the hydrogen, that's really the key to keeping this straight here. This part's usually not too bad, but it's when you get here and you get confused. Always add your water first, then go back and add your hydrogen, okay? All right, so you're going to have practice today. I've picked out the problems that are all the ones in acidic solution. So only work those, and then the next time we get together, I will teach you how to balance an equation in basic solution.